first town board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Ann Berger, 3rd Ward.
Michael Safone, 4th Ward. Stefan Krakauer, 5th Ward.
Ann Schuerschen, 6th Ward.
Jessica Moran, Deputy Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the town.
John Baza, Town Supervisor. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. On tonight's agenda, item number 1 is promote Detective Corey Kilfoyle to Police Sergeant. Item 2, set a date for a public hearing, Town Code Amendment 183-8, volunteer firefighters, volunteer ambulance workers exemption. 3, appoint James Bynum as wastewater collection system supervisor with the sewer department. 4, appoint Rich Rossi as senior wastewater maintenance mechanic with the sewer department. 5, appoint Greg Lissicatos as building inspector. 6, appoint Julio Soto as motor equipment operator with the highway department. 7, ratifies the supervisor's execution of Dutchess County's drug task force agreement. 8, authorize the supervisor to sign Dutchess County 2023 Stop DWI agreement. 9, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Munistat Services. 10, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Endeavor Municipal Development, Inc., grant writers. 11, accept resignation of Simona Cohen, Zoning Board of Appeals. 12, accept the resignation of Judith Clementi, Board of Ethics. 13, reappoint Phil Mueller to the Board of Ethics. 14, reappoint Scott Cleveland to the Plumbing Board of Examiners. 15, certificates of attendance for the planning board and zoning boards. 16, appoint Ann Berger to the joint water board. 17, ratify vacation time benefits. 18, waive liquor license for the Village Pancake Factory. 19 is a resolution for Tucker Drive Force Main, which is not quite done yet. 20, note of a claim, Lang versus the town of Poughkeepsie. With that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would anybody like to speak on any item on the agenda? Doreen?
Thank you, Jane. I have a question on 16. Can you just clarify about the water board? People that don't know, there's 3 town representatives
Sure.
on the joint water board, and whose place will Ann Berger be taking?
Sure. Doreen, there's 3 from the town representatives and 3 representatives from the city. Councilman Carlos's term was up in December, and he asked not to be put back on the board. He wanted to take a break and give somebody else a chance. And Ann said she would be more than willing to do it, because we will be looking for a couple town board members to be on a group to relook over the IMA.
Thank you. Then my other question is about item number 17, to ratify vacation time benefits. So in the package that was posted, it looks like most of the vacation time is either 3 weeks or 4 weeks for those 4 employees. And I was wondering how that was determined, because those employees have only been there since 2018, 2019, and 2021. And normally 3 weeks vacation would be if you've been there 6 to 10 years, or 4 weeks vacation is if you're there 11 to 19 years. So how is it determined how much vacation people would get?
Doreen, that was part of a bargaining when they were brought on, because a lot of them are senior, experienced employees. So as part of bargaining, we're just ratifying that that's what they're getting. So if somebody is not here, it will be in their folders, so there's not a conflict later on.
Okay, and when you say bargaining, I mean, like, they're not union, right?
No, correct. No, these are department heads or assistants to departments.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? If not, motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Rennie?
Be resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the appointment of Detective Corey Kilfoyle to the permanent position of police sergeant at the yearly salary of $114,702.39, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks for civil service law, effective February 6, 2023. And be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, thank you. That's it, that's the only promotion today?
Where's everybody go? Guess he's buying lunch, right?
All right, get right into it? Or
We'll
wait?
wait till we get to the door.
That's it, well done. Yeah. Don't, next time you get a person more than them.
Right.
Quite enough. That's me.
All right. Resolution number 2. Whereas the town board has been advised by the town assessor that local realty tax law exemption amendments may be made to chapter 183, specifically the addition of Article 5, 183.12-183.16, volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers exemptions. And whereas the proposed amendments are annexed hereto Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim with the words underlined to be added and those words stricken to be deleted, and the town board does direct that said amendments be spread across the record as if they in fact had been read verbatim. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby set the 15th day of February 2023 at 7 p.m. at the town hall, town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as the date, time, and place of a public hearing to consider these local law amendments, and it directs the town clerk to post and publish notice of said public hearing. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie determines that because the approval of this tax exemption law will not involve activities which could affect the environment, it is not an action subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act review. And be it further resolved that said local law, if adopted, shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to, I know it's going to be brought up at the public hearing, but I just wanted everyone to be aware about this law. There's some confusion about what they collect for and the current New York State exemption that volunteer firefighters have. You know, if we do adopt this, which hopefully they do, is they would be required to take the exemption or the deduction. They can't take both. So I just wanted people, I know that the county is looking at doing it where this gets adopted in 2025. If we do this in 2024, and if fire districts do it as well in 2024, then in some cases, you might save more money with the current $200 deduction. So people should just look over the numbers before they automatically see there's an exemption and sign up for it. So it will be discussed, hopefully, like I said, when we have the public hearing.
In this list here, one of the things is the percent of the exemption, which we can change and be what it is. And the max is 10%. Is that what you're looking for the town?
That's what I would like to see, the 10%, because really when you look at it, it's still it's a small number when you really look at it. Because I mean, personally, like I said, I looked at the numbers, and for someone like, it's gonna obviously vary depending on your fire district and obviously assessment of your house, how much you save. So like I said, for someone like me, if I do the town and the fire, if they do it by 2024, and the county, as we know, doesn't do it until 2025, I would save like $167. So the $200 is a better route for me. Once it gets adopted in 2025, then it's, a little over $200, and then that might be my route. So people should just look.
Did you evaluate to think, being that everybody hasn't adopted, is 2025 a better number to wait, or 2024?
I think 2024 would work because, you know, in other fire districts, they could save more right away. It just, you know, fortunately, unfortunately, like I said, in New Hamburg, if you're in New Hamburg, it's just a little lower. So, you know, you don't see that savings. In the other districts, you know, it could be where you save from the town and the fire district adopting it right away in 24, you can see a higher savings immediately compared to the $200.
So what fire, does the individual fire department pick how many years of service you have to have in order to get this exemption?
Well, there's, part of it in there is, we choose, well, each different government entity chooses what it is. So the town's looking at, it's either 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, is how many years you have to be to start collecting this. And then all of them show that if you have 20 years of active service, you have a lifetime exemption. So right now, I would like to see, this just me, is the 2 years. I believe our fire district is doing it in the first commissioners meeting of this month, and they're looking at the 2 years. I can't speak on behalf of Fairview or Arlington, and I think the county, like you said, is doing 3 years. I mean, that's minor when you look at it. All it would affect is somebody that has, say, 2 years, they might just get it from the town and their fire district, but they won't get it from the county because they want you to be there 3 years.
Yeah, but see, I'm looking at it from Fairview and Arlington do pay a very large amount because we're fully paid. Our fire tax has been going up steadily each and every year. So obviously, my residents would rather we push that up to the higher number, say 5 years, to be a volunteer before you get this. I mean, I'm sure a majority of my residents would want that. But if the county's gonna go to 3, you said?
County's gonna do 3. That's what I was told. I mean,
I'd have to see the number from my fire district and see where they go, but, you know, I cover Arlington and Fairview. So I'm sure, you know, I'd have to hear from a lot of the residents, see what number they prefer.
So Arlington doesn't have volunteers, correct?
yes, they do.
Arlington does have volunteers,
They
but
still have
it's,
volunteers.
Croft Corners has volunteers,
Croft
and there are a
Corners.
couple other ones out there too, but they're
How
not.
many volunteers in Croft Corners currently?
I wouldn't,
Approximately.
I don't have those numbers.
Okay. Fairview has volunteers?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
My thing,
So if we vote on this, it's a town taxpayer gets the exemption, then Arlington or New Hamburg or Fairview has to vote on it for the fire tax portion of it, correct?
Correct. Each government entities, and there's only 3 here, excluding the school districts, which I think a lot are hoping to get, because that's where you get a bigger savings. So the 3 government entities, being the fire district, the town, and the county, each have to adopt their own resolutions.
So currently, you're saying there's on the books, a volunteer gets a $200 tax credit,
Correct.
For income tax.
For income tax.
income tax
For
credit.
state, yep,
So, and that's at from the state level?
correct.
All right, so if we approve this, the person would have to take one or the other, they don't get both.
Correct.
And when you said for your, like in your situation, you get 167, is that from just the town portion or from everything? If
No, that
everybody
would be
voted?
just if with the town and the fire district that are looking at possibly adopting these by the 2024. When 2025 rolls around and all 3 of them are in effect, then I would save more.
Okay, so it would be town, fire district, and county basically is what presumably would, by 2025.
And the school district, but you know,
Are any school districts considering doing it right now?
well, they're pushing. I bet that might be the tougher one, but they're pushing.
my question to the whole thing is, and I brought this up to Jeff and them, is when the assessing department does these, if they're doing New Hamburg for 3 years, Fairview for 2 years, Arlington for 4, and accounting for, it becomes an accounting nightmare
Yeah.
downstairs. So we're trying to get them all
gotta be
on
the same
the
numbers.
same page. They are meeting, I think, tomorrow to see if we can get them there. And the 24th, if it's to go on the 24th, all the paperwork, after we okay this, if we do this at our next meeting, and it gets sent to the state, all the paperwork has to be in by March 1st for next year already. So I think that's why the county went out to
And do-
2025.
And do we have a value as to if everybody currently that's eligible got 10%, what that would cost? Do we know what that is?
No, there's
No.
not a number.
Can we get that?
We have to reach out to all the departments, see who they have that's active right now that would fit over that 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. Yeah,
Okay,
we can try to get that before a public hearing.
okay.
But when you look at it, I think it's a very minuscule award, if you want to call it, for these volunteers. Because when you look at it, I mean, you know, maybe a little biased because I am one, but I mean, when you look at $167, I mean, just look at what these volunteers put in gas and everything else to just go to calls and their time, and especially when you look at last night, for example. I know a great job, you know, all the local departments did with fighting the fire there on Main Street, but again, part of that group were volunteers as well as the career people, and those people were up since 2 o'clock in the morning while everyone else is sleeping, you know, so it's just that little reward to acknowledge what they've done and to save, how much money they're saving.
And so this would be, so is there any way to, because New York, the $200 comes from New York State, not from local. Is there any way where it could be that the benefit would be the $200 plus whatever extra you would otherwise get? Do you follow me?
Yeah,
Because otherwise we're giving it up on the local level rather than,
well,
if it's, so let's say in your case, this, if everybody approves it, you get $250. That will now come from local level versus New York State. Is there a way to do it where we give the 50?
I don't believe so. And like I said, just because I think you're getting, I mean, I'm not the expert, it would be something that Jennifer would have to tell you, is it's not truly paying out everything. It's how they distribute it in the assessment and stuff is how
Right,
much.
but-
It's not,
Well, but if it's, yeah,
we're
but
not,
if-
we're not basically taking all that money and raising it on everybody else.
No, but what happens is if you don't pay it, then I do.
Not the whole thing, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Very
Right,
minuscule.
no, I know, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying, if New York State is paying it.
Yep.
Right now, 200, is there a way where we could just give a flat number or a percentage bit? that
No,
would-
because it's
There's
the
a
same way
difference.
as they do it with the vets, is it basically, it's taken off your assessment. So the 10% is off the assessment line on each of those entities.
No, we know that.
You know, so
Right, but what,
you wouldn't be able, I don't know how you'd be able to do it any other way.
well, but right now, you're saying the $200 comes out of state pocket.
Correct.
If we do this and the fire district doesn't and county doesn't, you'd still take the 200. If they join in, it may move that up over that threshold. So is this, what we're doing, is this strictly a new town law, or did the state pass something where we're gonna adopt what they allowed to happen?
The state allows it. That's what, they just passed this at the end of December. It was when it was passed.
There was something else on the books before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was only granted to certain.
Yeah, and the other thing
Communities.
that I think happened is you said if you could go on your income tax and check off the $200 credit, there's no checks and balances. Here, the district has to certify that these guys, or whoever they are, men or women, actually have met a criteria. That is a little bit different, because I said, my answer was, what, the state thought everybody should get a little more, why didn't they just raise it to $300?
Right.
And then I said to myself, I go, maybe.
Because the state wants us to take it out of our pocket, not theirs. So that's what I'm saying is, if the total amount of the credit if everybody okayed it would be 250, and otherwise the state would give 200. If we just give 50, then it costs us less, and the volunteers are getting the same benefit.
But the other thing is, it was just, I saw it today in the news, is Chairman Pulver from the county is trying to go to the state so you can get both. So you can do the tax, the current tax exemption, I mean, deduction, as well as this one, which would be beneficial. And then the other thing you have to look at is, you know, and this question came up is, what happens if you're renting and you don't own? So then you still have that $200 deduction that you can still claim. So there's still something for you to fall back on.
Well, Jeff, there's also the other piece is, you know, having the volunteers, what they're saving cost-wise, one, you know, a group of volunteers as opposed to one paid cost, you know, it's a big difference, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you have 20, 25 volunteers down there, which don't all qualify because some don't live there, some rent,
Yeah.
some don't own, they live with their parents still, I mean, so it is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to plug
Do
in.
you have another question? You look,
No.
Me?
there you go.
Jim.
Oh, he looks like spinning there.
He always has a question.
No, that's.
I think we should figure out a way to take the state's 200 and add to it, not replace it, because.
I don't think we can do it, that's the whole thing. And I'd like to see, personally, I'd like to see them get both, if it comes down to
So
road.
you're saying each fire district is gonna have criteria that they're gonna put in place?
That's correct.
Correct.
They have to have somebody that will certify that that person is active. We can't micromanage to say, okay, well, this is a criteria for you to meet an active member. Each organization, you know, Arlington will have their definition, and they'll have someone to certify it. Fairview will have theirs, and New Hamburg will have theirs.
So it won't be standard across all the.
Correct, because I don't know what is their criteria to be an active firefighter in that organization. So that's where, like I said, we can't micromanage, we can just go by, when they certify that letter showing that they meet an active volunteer firefighter status and good standing for that organization.
So if they're in one, they get the letter, they move to another district and they don't meet the same criteria, they might be bumped out of that, correct?
Correct, yep.
Wouldn't it
So every year, just like the exemptions that you have now, you know, that you file with the town now, you still have to do it. So I mean, unless it's granted a lifetime one, then you don't have to do it. But I mean, every year, if I fall under that 20 years, I would have to get the letter from my district. You know, in our case, I'm just using our example, it looks like our data administrator is gonna be the one that's gonna certify each firefighter. Every year I have to bring that in. It's not like, you know, you get it this year and then automatically next year you get it. You gotta get that letter that shows you're still in good standing to get it for the next
So
year.
is the county, if they do this in 25, gonna grandfather anybody in, or it starts at 25?
It starts at 25, but it's pretty simple. It goes by, if you, in their case, 3 years. So right off the bat, if I have 5 years of service, I'm in no matter what. If I have 4 years, then I'm in there. 3 years, it doesn't matter. I start right
What
away.
about the residency criteria?
You
As
have to
far
live
as-
in the, you have to live.
You have to
Okay.
live in that. So like, you can get the town one and be in any of the fire districts. But we have cases where there's members that belong to New Hamburg but live in Arlington's district. They won't be able to get the Arlington part.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, they won't be able to get the, you know,
The
New Hamburg
Hamburg
part
one,
because they don't
own a home
live, they don't live in New Hamburg's fire district.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be better to make the transition and do it at the same time the county's doing it?
I think
So
they
we're on the
said,
same page? I mean, I appreciate
would-
our volunteers, but, you know,
I'd like to start as soon as possible. That, again, I'm only one vote, and I think they deserve it. I mean, if you can give them an additional savings one more year in advance of when the county adopts theirs, then it's good, and others, like I said, won't get that savings.
In a lot of cases, they may not even apply.
Yeah.
Because like in New Hamburg's case, if the county's is until next year and it's just us, and I know New Hamburg dates, and I don't know what Fairview's and Arlington's date were. I know one of them was sent in and it didn't meet all the criteria, so they're meeting, I think, tomorrow to discuss, you know,
Yeah, tomorrow.
some items. So I think to move this forward, we need to put some numbers in this spot, and we can try to get the answers before the public hearing. This is just to get it moving, so,
It should be in there tomorrow.
yeah.
I would assume the numbers
Jim?
tomorrow.
For purposes of putting forward the local law, there are 3 questions. Number one, my assumption is that the clauses on the second page that relate to continuation for widows is something that you want in. I left it in because, pardon me, that was my assumption. The other 2 questions, however, you know, for purposes of putting a local law ahead that the clerk can advertise, are to know what percentage, up to 10, and how many years,
what I was
2,
just-
3, 4,
what I
or
was just
5,
getting.
as a member. And the question is membership, and I don't want to go into that, but the town is not in a position to, you know, judge quality or level of activity of members, but the core questions are assuming you want the widows in, and given the fact that the clerk's office has to advertise, you know, for this to be effective for the upcoming tax year, the applications have to be in by the 1st of March. Now, I mean, if you decide to defer it, then that's, you know, that's certainly the board's prerogative, but if you want to do it to be effective as quickly as possible, which would be to have applications in by the 1st of March, you should, if you want that, pick years and pick a percentage.
That's what I was just doing.
Pardon me?
That's what I was just doing.
I think
That's
2
what I
and
was
10
just doing. I
is,
just
Oh,
said,
sorry.
you know, right now, because we can change these at the public hearing. But we have to start with a date. We have to have a time and date. It's not a major change. The law is in place. It's whether it's 10 or 1, and 10% is the max.
If we went from 10% to 5% or 2 years to 5 years, would that be a material change which would require re-advertising, or would that be okay?
I say so.
If we put in, can we put in this for the advertising purposes between 2 to 5 years and 5 to 10%? And then we've covered it, and then we can just figure it all out.
Well, my guess is that no one would challenge it, but, you know, if you do percentages, 2 to 5 is 150%, and the difference between 10 and 8, it would be cleaner to put the numbers in.
10 is the
but-
max. If we were to
10
go
is the
less,
max.
if we were to go less, I don't think that matters. And if we went with 2 or 3 years, a year difference, I don't think is a major change to the whole law in general, because we're telling people
Yeah,
what
not-
we're doing.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference between 2 and 3 is probably not material. The difference between 5 and 2, conceivably it is.
I think, like I said, I think the 10% should definitely be in there, because that's so low when you look at it in the first place. It really is.
Well, not
It
when
might
you're-
sound,
Not when you're paying $2,000 in fire tax though, Jeff. In my district, you're paying 2,000.
Uh-huh.
You guys are paying
so
300.
it's
It's
$200.
not
That's
affecting the fire
what you're
tax.
looking at.
The fire taxes, if you're fire.
It's fire regular tax. My people are only gonna look at what they're paying in fire tax.
Yeah, the fire taxes is up to Fairview to pass that. Anything we pass here has
Yeah.
nothing to do with Fairview. They have to pass their,
Well, I'm just talking about in Arlington in general. In Arlington and Fairview, most of my residents are paying around $2,000 fire
Oh, no.
tax.
Yeah, but you're looking, just like Jay's saying, you only have to look at what they're paying on the town tax. That's where they're getting the break from. It's not the fire. That is, like I said, up to the commissioners to handle that. You're looking at, I don't know, $1,000 or whatever, $1,100, most people would be paying for their taxes for the town.
Town
aspect
portion only.
only, and 10% that.
Yeah.
So you're looking $100, $110, that's what you're looking at. Really, if anything, that's up to the fire districts to worry about the other aspect of it.
and I think, Jeff, is what you said, to keep a volunteer, and what difference it makes in the Hamburg, because it is all volunteer, as opposed to, I don't know how many members are in Fairview or Arlington. It may not have as big of an effect up there to how many members they have at all, or how many members we're giving a discount. But I think it's something we should find out before the public hearing. Anyway, I can find that out.
What's the percentage that people get for a veterans exemption?
That's on a scale.
Like ballpark?
So, being that I served deployed, I get 15%. Someone that pushed in, they get 10%. Now, if they're disabled, they get 25%.
Okay.
Tim, do you would like to talk on this or no?
This isn't
No,
here.
Fairview's having a public meeting that's,
Okay.
We move forward with this resolution?
Are we gonna plug numbers, or we're not
I
gonna
have-
plug numbers? You wanna do 10 and,
I'm looking at 10, and I'll say 3 for now.
Okay.
To go, if we go up or down a year. Does anybody got an objection to that?
fine?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
As amended, or with
As
10,
filled in,
with
yeah.
10 and 3.
Yeah.
Number 3. You ready to move on?
Number 3, yeah.
All right, be resolved, Town Board, Town of Kipps here by appoint James Bynum to the position of wastewater collection system supervisor with the sewer department at an annual salary of $96,830.95 effective February 6, 2023. Be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the department, required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Congratulations.
James, best of luck. So, number 4.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Richard Rossi to the position of Senior Wastewater Maintenance Mechanic with the Sewer Department at a grade 7, step 5 salary of $28.7766 per hour plus an additional 50 cents per hour pursuant with the CSEA contract effective February 6, 2023. And be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Rich, congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
There you go.
That's it. Inside of here.
Take that back.
Congrats. Thanks.
That comes out here.
Be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby provisionally appoint Craig Litos to the position of Deputy Building Inspector with the Building Department at a grade 10, step 1 salary of $30.8393 per hour, effective February 21st, 2023. And be further resolved that pursuant to the New York State Executive Law, Mr. Litos must be successfully completed training as prescribed by the NYS Department of State Division of Code Enforcement Administration after initial appointment, and be further resolved that the permanent employment is contingent upon completion of the civil service exam and achievement of a reachable status, and at said time, Mr. Litos will begin his probation period of no less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentations required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. So everybody know, this one's a little different because we couldn't get anybody off the list. There was only 5 names on the list, and I think there was only one of them that ended up coming in for an interview. So we interviewed like, I think 7 or 8 other people with some experience. So as you said, they also have to pass the test first, take his building department classes first, and then they'll be here. Number 6. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby appoint Julio Soto to the position of motor equipment operator with the Highway Department, salary of $21.50 per hour, effective immediately and subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. Be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and fill all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Just, I added a line in here that's not on your resolution, subject to probation period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. I can make a motion, put that piece in there.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And on the resolution, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the supervisor's execution of an agreement with the County of Dutchess, the towns of Poughkeepsie, Hyde Park, and East Fishkill, and the cities of Beacon and Poughkeepsie to provide the county's continued funding through the Municipal Innovation Grant Program of the Drug Enforcement Task Force, CA file number 17850, a copy of which is annexed. So moved.
Second.
Jim, I'd like to add to this, only with the approval of the police chief and the town supervisor, that this gets signed.
Okay, subject to.
Subject to-
Right.
Yep. All those in favor of the change?
Aye.
All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign the 2023 Stop DWI Program Amendment and Extension Agreement, coordinated DWI checkpoints with the County of Dutchess, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie authorizes the supervisor or his designee to execute an municipal advisor services agreement with Munistat Services Incorporated on receipt of proof that the town's required errors and omissions insurance coverage is in effect, and be it further resolved that the execution of this services agreement is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town of Poughkeepsie has previously, by Resolution 1-6, number 27 of 2021, and Resolution 3-2, number 8 of 2022, contracted with Endeavor Municipal Development, Inc. for assistance with state and federal loan and grant applications relating to the Hudson Heritage Development Project. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisors are authorized to execute a contract with Endeavor Municipal Development, Inc. in substantially the form next for the continuation of its grant and loan assistance services from January 7, 2023 to January 6, 2024 at the previous rate of $6,000 per quarter plus disbursements. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? On this one here, this is the grant writer just for Hudson Heritage. They're writing the grant prior, and it's for the sewer project up there. And once we get the loan and we go through EFC and we get the money, this will all be reimbursed through the sewer district.
So this is for the Hudson Heritage Sewer District?
Yeah.
And what if we don't get the loan or get the
No,
grant?
We have it. It's just that we haven't signed it. He's got it in his grants. He's gotten those, I think, close to 2 million in grants.
Okay.
But once we form the district, and the district's formed and started, and we get money from the EFC, then we'll pay his bill through that.
And why are we paying this rather than Hudson Heritage?
Because the grants are for ours and our sewer district.
Because we had to take out the grants, remember?
Yeah.
Right, but Hudson Heritage is beneficiary of it.
But it was a municipal
No,
grant. In order to get the money, we had to put it in our name, but they put money up to pay us back.
It's a grant writer for our sewer district, not for Hudson Heritage as a whole. It's our district. We formed the district. It's for our
Right, but
district.
the district to service Hudson Heritage,
Yeah.
right?
Serving Hudson Heritage, but it's still our district. It's our money. Yeah.
It's a little confusing, but we're covered.
All right.
Yeah.
They put money in to pay us back. So if they fail, we have money in escrow to pay us back.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the resignation of Simona Cohen from the Town of Poughkeepsie Zoning Board of Appeals effective immediately. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion second. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Simona for her time that she put in with the ZBA as an alternate. She really enjoyed it. She got a new position, so her schedule doesn't allow her to continue, but I appreciate the fact that people step up to do these things.
I agree. She was a pleasure when she was here, and the fact that she's taken on a different endeavor in her life that takes her in a different direction. Wish her best of luck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
I'll do it. Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby accept with regret the resignation of Judy Clemente as member of the Town of Poughkeepsie Board of Ethics effective immediately. I'd like to just add that I spoke to Judith last night. She really did want to stay on, but she's got some issues that she wanted to take care of. And she is being very helpful in trying to find another volunteer. But I want to thank her for her service. She's a Fourth Ward resident, and I'm going to miss her on this committee. But
She was very good.
but she really, maybe in the future she'll come back in another capacity. But she didn't close that door. So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reappoint Philippe Muller to the Board of Ethics Committee of the Town of Poughkeepsie, which term is effective through February 28, 2024. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reappoint Scott Cleveland to the Plumbing Board of Examiners of the Town of Poughkeepsie, which term is effective January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie hereby accepts certificates of attendance for Carl Whitehead, Ben Paganelli, Peter Finelli, Rocco Romeo, Nicole Giamatti for completion of planning board training hours for 2022. Be it further resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie hereby accepts a certificate of attendance for Paul Leahy, Christine Sorcelli, Art Grace, Anthony Gates, Larry Sloman, Phyllis Capone, Anthony Stratka, Simona Cohen for completion of ZBA training hours for 2022. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion second. Any questions? I would just like to thank them all for making sure they made all the training, and they all work very well. They work hard, diligently, and for putting their time and effort into this volunteer position in the town. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Ann Berger to the Joint City-Town Water Board for a term which will expire December 31st, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Any motion second? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby confirm and ratify the vacation time benefits which Jennifer Mund hired 6/3/2019, Michael Welty hired 3/5/2018, and Mara Rothman hired 1/6/2021, and Janet McHugh hired 4/26/2021 are entitled as follows. 1, Jennifer Mund, 4 weeks vacation. 2, Michael Welty, 3 weeks vacation. 4, Mara Rothman, 4 weeks vacation, and 5, Janet McHugh, 3 weeks vacation. So moved.
Second.
And what I would like to add to that one is they will receive their additional time-based years of service as they go on here per the handbook. So if they get on to their 4th week in the handbook or their 5th week in the handbook, when they get that many years, they'll still get that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And on the resolution, all those in favor?
Aye.
And this is just to make sure we have this all on file.
Be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of a request on behalf of the Village Pancake Factory Incorporated, 2001 South Road, D224, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver for 30-day review period for a liquor license application. And be it further resolved that the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions?
Where is that?
At the
In
mall.
Delaware
The mall.
In the gallery.
Oh, all right.
It
It's
took
the
over,
TGI Fridays.
Ruby
right, took
Tuesdays.
over Ruby Tuesday's place, yeah, in the mall.
And let's see. Got notification, nothing on for 19. You got anything for
19 is not ready yet.
Okay, and then number 20 is notice of claim referred to legal, Lang versus the Town of Poughkeepsie.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item at all. If people would please limit it to 3 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there anybody that would like to speak? Doreen?
Thank you, Jay. So yeah, I brought up number 17 there about the vacation time benefits because, there was an issue back in October of last year where a suit was filed by a former court employee who had left and then came back, and she was getting, there was, I guess, longevity payments and that were being challenged, and then you had the comptroller who left, and even though he was paid about $29,000 for over 500 hours of sick time, well, actually, I'm sorry, he was paid over $15,000 for 281 hours of sick time. He's still seeking 519 hours of sick time to be paid to him at around $29,000. So, all this stuff is a taxpayer is of concern to me. And also the fact that the comptroller had left in 2007 and his sick time remained on the books when he returned in 2016. So again, all of this stuff comes at a cost to taxpayers. And speaking of taxpayers, so our total taxes went up, like our property tax bill went up in total over $800. Our school tax went up over $800. And basically that was because our assessment went up by 37%. It increased by $83,500. And most of the total town assessed value went up due to increase in existing property values, not for new property increases. So, taxpayers keep getting, assessed at higher rates. And yet I see projects like Eastdale getting money from the Dutchess County IDA every time you turn around. So how does that work out? Jay, can you briefly, our taxes went up, and yet the new construction didn't increase by that much. Is something like Eastdale, will that be looked at again for their taxes to be, their assessment to go up?
Doreen, they get, Eastdale will use as an example, they get looked at every year. I mean, they get assessed as the buildings are being built, partial assessment, full assessments, and they do get, the pilot, which is a percent, but when that project originally came in, the numbers of what they stated would be in the pilot, the numbers of what they came out are larger numbers. What the IDA does with them on a smaller scale basis on some of their other deals, I don't know, because I know they give them sales tax, breaks and things like that. I don't follow that, but, the assessed values, I've always told people, if you look at your assessed value and you look at when they raised it as 20, 30% or 15%, this year if it was less than, I think it was $35,000 is the average, there was really no increase, but anything above that. But if you look at what your final assessed number is, if you think you can actually sell your house within $10,000 or $15,000 of either direction, your house is in the right spot of where it belongs, whether it was under assessed before, because we also know that we always hear the complaint like the Galleria Mall, who had a high value for years, and now their value is going down because it goes on income and expense over there, and their numbers were down millions of dollars. I mean, so it goes in both directions. The sales are still up, our home volume is up, our inventory is still low, so homes are still there. And the other thing is, we had Lexington Club at the Galleria this year, went tax exempt, which is a thing I totally disagree with because it's not helping any of the residents in there, but that alone was $7 million off the tax rolls, which new construction, you hopefully will eat up most of that and balance it out. It's a fine balance all the time on how this works. So right now it's the housing market, which is going up and up, and it's up again. I mean, it hasn't slowed down. We keep thinking with interest rates it's going to slow down, and it hasn't slowed down. But Eastdale, as I said, back to them, Doreen, they get assessed every year, just like everybody else, partial, like the new buildings they have now out there, they've added on since last year, probably at least 7 or 8 buildings. The ones that are fully open, they get a full assessment. The ones that are partially, she partially assesses them, and I think the final assessment roll is the end of February is when she has to be completed. So she's out now finishing up Hudson Heritage, Eastdale, Raymond Avenue to see who's on a partial. So they even get assessed partially. And their pilots, none of those pilots go into effect for any of those positions until they actually get a CO, not a TCO. They have to have a CO before they get any of that either, so they can't be partially done and think their pilot's going to start.
Okay, and just I'd like to point out quickly, I mean, and I know I've said this before, as far as, we're concerned here for our property, we are lucky, or we're fortunate that, we don't have to make tough decisions like some town residents do, when their taxes go up. Do they buy, food? Do they buy medicine? I mean, it's not dramatic to say that. So, some people are forced to make those choices. And, I know at December, I think it was back in December at one of the meetings, people were saying, yeah, but the value of your house goes up. Well, that may help you if you want to sell your house, but otherwise it's not particularly helpful. And, I know some board members said that they pay, higher taxes too if their assessment goes up. And again, you get paid salaries, you get medical expenses, you get medical paid $4,000 in medical buyout if you don't take those expenses. So anyway, I'm just asking you to keep in mind that there are people out there who are really struggling, and it makes a difference when when other people get get breaks on their taxes because the rest of the base has to pick up that money. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
Thank you. I'm Larry Treble. And tonight I want to talk about Vassar held another round of deer killing this year. Despite the many public objections and the fact that there are far fewer deer in the area because of the AHD disease. So there aren't many left to kill, but that doesn't stop them from baiting them and killing them. But tonight I want to bring up another incident and involved with this, and that is relevant to this map here, to this satellite photo here. On Friday, January 13th, Vassar held their last night of shooting. So the shooting tent was right at the border of the preserve and the upper parking lot of the Hudson Valley Credit Union. So it's really right about here was where the tent was. It's about maybe 250 to 300 yards from Our Lady of Lourdes High School. So the small shooting window of the tent was facing north in the direction of the school. If anyone needs photographic evidence of where that opening was, you can please just contact me. Placement of the shooter's tree camera and the bait also confirmed that this was the direction he was shooting in, near the perimeter and trail of the preserve where the deer often walk because the shrubbery is less dense. So the shooting starts after dark, and while the shooter was in the tent, we noticed lots of students and other people coming and parking in the northern lot, which is right here. And they got out and they walked around, they lingered, they were coming to I assume a basketball or some kind of sports event inside the school. And then after the game, they likely left while the shooter was still in the tent, because the shooter usually stays there a few hours. So it's absolutely stunning that he was shooting from a blind tent with a night scope while this crowd was at the school and on school grounds. With a night scope, it can be impossible to see what is in the distance, and nearby trees and shrubs can make it even more difficult to know the exact direction you're facing. If you doubt this, please just look at examples of night scope shootings. The following week, I contacted Nicholas Fernandez, who's the director of the school security at Our Lady of Lourdes. And when I explained this to him, he was surprised, and he said he had no knowledge about it. Vassar has demonstrated incredible lack of responsibility once again, shooting near a school at night with students around and not even informing the security director. As usual, they could care less what other people think. So I hope the town board finally puts an end to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Michelle?
Well, I would like to add, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand on this, I'll be very fast. I want to add my endorsement to what Larry Triple just said. I think it's a bad idea to wait for something disastrous to happen to a kid. And I do think Vassar should be more responsible. I hope the board will raise their voices. Thank you. I'm so
Thank
sorry
you.
not to have been able to raise my hand.
Thank you. Michelle, sorry about that.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sitting here not really addressing you 9 or 10, but speaking to any resident who has clicked through the channels from the football games that are very popular here in our county. I'm appealing to moms and dads who sense that something isn't quite right in our communities. Their intuition is correct. We have local governments accepting monies for initiatives that are not for the benefit of the people of our community. And with every funding agreement you all sign, more of our freedoms, our health are impinged upon more and more. Why has our state government encouraged the scourge of fentanyl deaths by aligning with our federal government and keeping our borders porous? And why is our local government then leaning on law-abiding residents and hindering our travel to try to catch the drugs and pushers who aren't stupid enough to drive on our roads when said checkpoints are implemented? Many people I've spoken with know that the checkpoint initiative is a beta testing for some other form of public harassment. These initiatives are always cooked up to appear for the public good as a reaction to something that was deliberately created as a problem to overcome. But in reality, the solutions impinge on our freedoms. Why are our utilities surrounding us with efficient metering and wireless distribution systems on our homes and all over our roads when the excessive electromagnetic emissions are known for cancer, neurological, and cardiac disease? For the greening of America? Nope. Guess again. Why would our police be placed within 300 to 500 feet of a known carcinogenic 5G infrastructure at PDS to keep them safe? I don't think so. Why is our telecom industry so interested in delivering broadband for everyone? Altruism? Nope. Guess again. Why are our local governments allowing the construction of this mesh network without taking the key steps necessary to include our code this prescriptive language that would more accurately qualify public necessity for more of this pollution? Peter Finelli, we love him. He's highly respected planning board member. He tried to explain what sounded like the precautionary principle, but I'm not sure if what he was trying to raise to the chairman jogged further conversation from within the board. And Bill Carlos knows that state and city governments don't always care about local communities when he worked tirelessly with Hudson 7 to protect our water quality. So finally, we don't expect our local governments to aid and abet those who would launch initiatives that stroke us with one hand and then bash our constitutionally protected human rights with the other. There is no full disclosure on this Stop DWI checkpoint extension agreement. There's, it's like, what are they allowed to do with citizens? It says basically, Exhibit A, scope of services, page 31 of 81. Countywide undercover unit concerned with reducing the sale and distribution of narcotics and drug crimes, which is really good, but currently allowing the task force the ability to enhance operations, increase investigations and arrests, and increase property seizures as contractors for the corporation of the county or the town of Poughkeepsie, with the goals for 5% reduction in the number of deaths caused by drug overdoses. I mean, I hope we can do more, better than 5%, while we inconvenience and shake down the public. The other point I wanted to make happens to be about people driving while vaccinated. You have people with neurological problems, seizures on the road because of the side effects. Many of them are, not everybody, but many of them do experience this. And what are we going to do? Arrest them for a DUI for having done what the government or our employers told us to do?
Michelle, could you wrap it up?
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it's like we take away our driver's license then, and then enter in driverless cars. That's the solution, right? So you see how this works. It's called the Hegelian dialect, and it would be worthwhile to look at exactly what that is. It's you create a problem, and then you come in with the solution that you had prepared in the first place. So I'm really exasperated if you can't tell. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Is there anybody else?
Bill Crane.
Go ahead, Mr. Crane.
I'm the co-owner of Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary in Poquag. I've been very concerned about Vassar's deer calls for many years, and I want to second what Larry and Grace said, and I want to urge the town to see if it can do more to protect the deer that Vassar is killing. Deer grow up playing with one another. They become extremely devoted mothers. They warn one another in times of danger. They share emotions with us: love, fear, anger, grief. They each have an individual personality, and each deer, like each of us, wants to live. I think Vassar's got all the intellectual capital to figure out ways of dealing with this problem humanely without slaughtering deer. It's a disgrace, and if they have the intellectual abilities, but they don't have the moral will. And I would urge the town to take some initiatives to pressure them and find ways to protect our animal relatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? No? Make a motion to resume rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Renahan?
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following: to discuss matters which are exempt under the open meeting law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege, and be it further resolved that no action appropriating money will be taken. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town board goes into executive session at 8 PM.